One decade, 10 films, and science fiction changed forever. Today, we're counting down 10 great 1970s sci-fi movies that are still incredible today. The films that defined a generation and still hold up decades later with zero apologies. We're talking about practical effects that shame modern CGI, stories that predicted our future with terrifying accuracy, movies that studios expected to fail and instead conquered cinema history. The 70s gave us the greatest sci-fi decade ever filmed. Before green screens and digital effects took over, filmmakers built real sets, created real creatures, and told real stories. These films don't just survive, they dominate. Let's dive in.
No food, no females.
Okay, you just sit there on your fuzzy butt while I do all the goddamn work.
A Boy and His Dog, 1975. Harlan Ellison wrote a post-apocalyptic black comedy about a teenage survivor and his telepathic dog navigating a nuclear wasteland. Director L.Q. Jones adapted it on a shoestring budget with a young Don Johnson years before Miami Vice made him famous. The dog Blood is smarter than the boy Vic and provides the moral compass in a world with no morality left. The surface world is brutal survival. Then Vic discovers an underground society that preserved 1950s American culture in the most twisted way possible. The ending is so dark and controversial that audiences still debate whether it's brilliant or reprehensible 50 years later. Ellison's misanthropic vision doesn't soften anything for comfort. A Boy and His Dog influenced Mad Max, The Road Warrior, and the entire Fallout video game franchise. The low-budget shows, but the ideas are bigger than the production. It's not for everyone. The tone is cynical and mean, but it's unforgettable and genuinely unique in its refusal to offer hope or redemption in the apocalypse.
He's treating her, and this...
What's this treatment have to do with pushing me up against the wall?
Upset.
She looks fine to me.
She is upset, Jack.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Philip Kaufman remade the 1956 Cold War paranoia classic and somehow made it better. Donald Sutherland plays a health inspector in San Francisco who discovers alien pods are replacing humans with emotionless duplicates. The paranoia builds slowly as more people around him get replaced, and he can't trust anyone. The practical effects showing the transformation are grotesque and disturbing. Half-formed pod people emerging covered in slime and cobwebs. The sound design makes your skin crawl. Kaufman set it in post-Watergate San Francisco, tapping into 70s, distrust of institutions, and conformity. Nobody is safe. There's no cavalry coming to save humanity. That final scene is one of cinema's most iconic moments. Donald Sutherland's character points and screams with that inhuman shriek, revealing he's been replaced. The film ends on pure horror with no escape or hope. The pods won. Humanity lost. Credits roll on nightmare fuel. Invasion of the Body Snatchers remains the best sci-fi horror film of the 70s. The paranoia and fear of losing individuality never stops being relevant. The practical effects aged perfectly. And that ending still devastates first-time viewers. Soylent Green, 1973. Charlton Heston investigates a murder in 2022 New York City, a world of 40 million people crammed into one overpopulated, overheated city where real food is impossibly expensive, and most people survive on processed wafers called Soylent Green. The environmental collapse and corporate control feel more prophetic every year. Edward G. Robinson plays Heston's elderly roommate in his final film role before death. His assisted suicide scene watching nature footage of Earth before pollution destroyed it is genuinely heartbreaking. Robinson died shortly after filming. He never saw the completed movie. That scene hits even harder knowing it was his goodbye to cinema. Everyone knows the twist ending, even if they've never seen the film. Soylent Green is people became a cultural touchstone. But the journey to that revelation is what makes the film work. The grimy, sweaty 70s aesthetic captures desperation perfectly. The wealthy live in luxury, while millions starve. The corporation controls everything. Sound familiar? Soylent Green predicted climate crisis, overpopulation, corporate fascism, and food scarcity with disturbing accuracy. Watching it now feels less like science fiction and more like documentary from a future we're racing toward. That's what makes it still incredible 50 years later.
I hate outside. I hate it. I hate it.
Logan's Run, 1976. In the sealed city of the future, life is perfect. Free food, free sex, no work, no pain. One rule: when you turn 30, you die in a ceremony called carousel, where everyone believes you're reborn. Runners who try to escape get hunted by sandmen and killed. Michael York plays a sandman who starts questioning the system. The special effects won an Academy Award and looked dated within a year when Star Wars premiered. But the ideas endure. A society obsessed with youth that murders anyone who ages. Hedonism masking horror. A population that accepts lies because truth is too frightening. Sound relevant? Logan and Jessica escape the city and discover the Yeeg, ruins of Washington, D.C. They meet an old man, the first elderly person they've ever seen. The revelation that you don't have to die at 30, that the carousel is a lie, destroys everything they believed. The film's themes about youth obsession, conformity, and comfortable lies feel more relevant now than 1976. Logan's Run deserves a modern remake that takes the concept seriously. The original is flawed and cheesy, but the dystopian premise influenced The Hunger Games and every young adult dystopia that followed. The ideas are still incredible, even when the execution shows its age.
Look, I don't care about your schedule. You are not using those things in my forest.
Listen, I ain't got time to argue.
One reason why, the same attitude that you three guys are giving me right here in this room today.
Silent Running, 1972. Douglas Trumbull, the visual effects genius behind 2001, A Space Odyssey, directed his only science fiction film. Bruce Dern plays Freeman Lowell, a botanist maintaining Earth's last forests inside giant space stations orbiting Saturn. Earth became a barren wasteland. These biodomes preserve what's left. Then the corporation orders all stations destroyed and the crews return home. Lowell snaps. He murders his crewmates and flees into deep space with the last forest and 3 maintenance drones he names Huey, Dewey, and Louie. It's a small, intimate character study about environmental destruction and one man's desperate attempt to save nature when humanity has given up. The environmental message was ahead of its time in 1972. The drones, performed by double amputee actors, were adorable before Star Wars made droids mainstream. Joan Baez's folk soundtrack is haunting, and that ending where Lowell sacrifices himself while the last forest drifts through space tended by a lone drone absolutely destroys you emotionally. Silent Running influenced Moon, Interstellar, and every lonely space film since. The practical effects and real forest sets are beautiful. Bruce Dern's performance carries the entire film. It's slow and contemplative, but incredibly powerful. Environmental sci-fi at its finest. The Andromeda Strain, 1971. Robert Wise directed Michael Crichton's novel adaptation as a realistic scientific procedural thriller. A satellite crashes in a small New Mexico town. Everyone dies instantly except an old drunk and a crying baby. Scientists race to understand the alien microorganism before it kills everyone on Earth. The Andromeda Strain treats science seriously. No action heroes, no explosions. Just scientists methodically working through problems in underground labs using 1970s technology. The tension comes from watching intelligent people solve puzzles while a deadly organism mutates and spreads. It's adult science fiction, that respects the audience's intelligence. The film predicted pandemic fears with frightening accuracy. Contamination protocols, quarantine procedures, government secrets about biological weapons, scientists racing against time while politicians make dangerous decisions. Watching it after COVID-19 feels eerily prophetic. The practical effects and laboratory sets still look credible. The documentary style makes everything feel real and immediate. Wise created a thriller from pure procedural science with minimal action. The Andromeda Strain influenced Outbreak, Contagion, and every pandemic film since. It remains the smartest, most realistic depiction of scientists responding to an alien biological threat. No other film has matched its intelligent approach to scientific crisis. Solaris, 1972. Andrei Tarkovsky made a 3-hour Soviet science fiction film about grief, memory, and human connection. The space station orbiting planet Solaris is falling apart. The crew is going insane. A psychologist arrives to investigate and discovers the ocean covering Solaris reads human minds and manifests their deepest memories as physical beings. His dead wife appears. She's real, but not real. She loves him, but doesn't know why. Solaris is deliberately slow. The first hour barely mentions space, long takes of highways and rain, philosophical conversations that circle without resolution. Western audiences found it unbearably boring. But Tarkovsky wasn't making a space adventure. He was exploring whether we can ever truly know another person, whether grief ever ends, and what it means to be human. Ingmar Bergman called it the greatest film he'd ever seen. Steven Soderbergh remade it in 2002 with George Clooney and couldn't capture the original's haunting power. The Soviet Union wanted their 2001, a space odyssey. Tarkovsky gave them something slower, stranger, and infinitely more depressing. Solaris influenced Arrival, Interstellar, and cerebral sci-fi that uses speculative concepts to explore human emotion. It's not entertainment. It's an experience that demands patience and rewards contemplation. 50 years later, it remains a philosophical masterpiece disguised as science fiction. Alien, 1979. Ridley Scott took a slasher film, set it on a spaceship, and created the most terrifying sci-fi horror ever made. The crew of the Nostromo investigates a distress signal. They bring back something that kills them one by one in increasingly horrific ways. H.I.R. Giger's biomechanical xenomorph design is nightmare fuel that looks alien in ways CGI creatures never achieve. The chestburster scene shocked audiences in 1979 and still shocks viewers today. The practical effects, a real puppet exploding from an actor's torso, spraying blood everywhere, feel visceral and horrifying. The full-grown alien was a man in a suit that moved wrong, creating genuine unease. Ridley Scott hid the creature in shadows for most of the film, letting imagination fill gaps. Sigourney Weaver became an action icon playing Ripley, the warrant officer who survives through intelligence and determination. In space, no one can hear you scream wasn't just marketing. It was the film's entire philosophy. The Nostromo crew was alone, isolated, hunted by something perfect and unstoppable. Alien spawned a massive franchise, but the original remains untouchable. The atmosphere, the practical effects, the slow burn terror, nothing has matched it in 45 years. Modern horror relies on jump scares. Alien relies on dread, atmosphere, and one perfect monster. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977. Steven Spielberg released his optimistic Alien Contact film 5 months after Star Wars. While Lucas gave audiences space battles and adventure, Spielberg offered wonder and communication. Roy Neary sees a UFO and becomes obsessed. Government conspiracy, strange visions, a mountain that means something. and humanity's first contact with aliens, treated as spiritual transcendence instead of invasion. Douglas Trumbull's visual effects were practical and beautiful. The massive mothership reveal at Devil's Tower still takes your breath away. John Williams' 5-note musical theme became the universal language between humans and aliens. The final sequence of scientists communicating through light and sound is pure Spielberg magic. Optimistic, emotional, and life-affirming. The special edition, released years later, improved the original cut, trimming excess and adding footage inside the mothership. But even the theatrical version captured something unique. Humanity meeting something greater than ourselves, and responding with curiosity instead of fear. That tone feels almost naive now in our cynical era. Close Encounters influenced Contact, Arrival, and every film about peaceful alien contact since. The practical effects aged beautifully, because they were real lights, real ships, real reactions. Spielberg believed humanity would reach out in friendship. That optimism makes the film timeless. Star Wars: A New Hope, 1977. George Lucas changed cinema forever with a space opera influenced by samurai films and World War II dogfights. Fox executives expected disaster. The production was troubled. The budget seemed insane. The concept looked ridiculous on paper. Then Star Wars opened and lines wrapped around theaters for months straight. The practical effects were revolutionary. Real models composited onto painted backgrounds, puppets and costumes instead of animation. Lived-in universe design where everything looked used and broken. John Williams' orchestral score made space adventure feel epic and important. Lucas created modern mythology using Joseph Campbell's hero's journey structure. Star Wars wasn't just successful. It fundamentally changed how movies get made, marketed, and merchandised. The modern blockbuster was born. The franchise empire worth billions started here. An entire generation defined themselves by whether they saw it opening weekend or had to wait in those legendary lines. Which 70s sci-fi film holds up the best? Which one do you rewatch constantly and never gets old? Drop your answer in the comments below. Hit subscribe for more film history and movies that defined generations. And smash that like button if you grew up with these films and still love them today.